Hey sports fan. In an effort to read more of what I actually own, I've been going through my shelves, I've been going through my TBR, just generally taking stock and trying to get my life right. And in doing that, I have found that I am in the middle of a lot of series. I thought it would be prudent to take stock of what series I'm currently in the middle of and then decide if I actually want to continue them or if I'm just going to call it a DNF and not finish the series. That way I can really prioritize the series that I want to finish and a bunch of new ones that I want to start. I've got my notes here and I'm not going to give a big synopsis on every series because that would just make this take way too long. So let's get started. The first one is a series that I actually forgot I had even started until right before recording this video, and that is A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. I will not be completing this series. I didn't hate it. I really liked the world and I like V.E. Schwab's writing. I just did not like the main character. I thought she was kind of a Mary Sue. She kind of had a crummy attitude. She was a little bit boring and not interesting. The amount that I disliked the main character like hurt how much I was enjoying the world that had been built because the premise is very interesting. I just could not get over how much I dislike Delilah Bard. She's so annoying. So I will not be completing A Darker Shade of Magic. Next up is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. I will be continuing this series. I really enjoyed the first book. Even though it did have a lot of issues for me, I still really liked it. I think what I like most and what I took away from it was the characters. I really, really liked a lot of the characters' personalities and the way that they're written. I enjoyed the second book even more because I think that Shannon's writing had started to improve. And I'm very interested in where the story is going. I love that the romantic subplot is actually a slow burn, like a very slow burn. I hate when people say that a book has a slow burn romance, but then the characters are like boinking in the first 30 pages. That was not slow, my friend. Slow is when they haven't even kissed before the end of the first book. I love the world that Samantha Shannon has built in the Bone Season. Even though the writing was not as strong for me in the first book, it was enough to get me to keep reading. And then the writing has started to improve in the second book. It's very lyrical, it's very beautiful to read, and I am excited to continue the series. I believe there are 5 currently, and I don't think it's done. I think this may be a fever dream, but I think I saw somewhere that she said that she anticipates writing 7 books in its entirety. So the Bone Season is a yes. Next, the Hierarchy series. I feel like it's pretty obvious. I loved The Will of the Many. I loved The Strength of the Few even more. This is a definite yes for me. This world is crazy. The things that are happening are like mind-blowing, and I'm so excited to see where James Islington is going to take us with this. So that is a yes. I will be continuing that series. Next up is one that I feel like some of you guys are going to get kind of mad at me for, and I'm sorry, I can't help it. The Wheel of Time by Robert Jordan. I don't think I'm going to continue this series. I just don't like it that much. I've read the first 3 books. The first one I really didn't like. The second one I still didn't like that much. The third one I liked quite a bit more. And I think it's because Rand is barely in the book. And he is definitely my least liked character out of the main cast. I find that with The Wheel of Time, there are so many characters, and I don't like most of them. I like Perrin, he's great. I like Nynaeve. Sorry, I have a cat here. I just don't like most of the characters. I hate Morghese, I can't remember her name. I hate Egwene. I don't like Elaine. So many of the characters are just unlikable to me. I don't find that the world is engaging enough to keep me invested. I don't think the writing is any better than a lot of the other like young adult fantasy that I've read. While I know that The Wheel of Time is like beloved by most fantasy readers, I just haven't really seen anything from it that makes me want to come back for more. My husband loves The Wheel of Time. And so I wanted to love it so that we could both love it. I just don't love it. And I don't know if it's because I've only read the first 3 books, but I really don't want to commit to, I think, 12 more books to find out that I didn't like it. It's kind of a soft no for me right now, but I think that if somebody could make like a really good argument for why I should continue, then I could be convinced to read at least the 4th book and then see how I feel from there. The Faithful and the Fallen by John Gwynne. I will absolutely continue this series. His writing is phenomenal. It's so good. As I've said, I am a character reader. I love a character that drives the story. Plot is obviously important as well, but if I have a character that I can really get in the head of to drive me forward through the story, that's really all I need. John Gwynne does that with tons of characters. There's so many characters that I can really get behind and get invested in, even the ones I don't like. There are characters in The Faithful and the Fallen who I truly like despise. Like there's nothing positive to say about them, and I still enjoy reading from their perspective because they're written so well. I love the way John Gwynne writes, and Malice and Valor were amazing. They like blew me away, and I'm hoping to maybe finish that series this year. That is kind of a loose 2026 goal. I'd like to start finishing some of these series, and I think that that's one I'm gonna have to get on very quickly because I really, really, really love it. So it is definitely a yes. Ajin Demi-Human by Amon Sakurai. I have a really hard time pronouncing his name correctly. Please forgive me if I butchered it. I will definitely continue. This is a manga. It's super interesting. It's like a paranormal, it's not really horror. I guess I would just say paranormal thriller. It's super exciting. I've watched the anime and it made me want to read the manga, so I picked the manga up. I believe there are 6 volumes and I have read the first one. I'd like to start the second one soon. I probably won't finish it this year, but I will finish it in a timely manner. I'm really enjoying it. I don't see a reason to stop reading it. Sorry, one of the cats was messing around. This is Maui. He's very unhappy right now. He had an emergency vet visit this weekend and he had to lose both of his top fangs and a premolar. But he's healing up very nicely. He's a very sweet boy. That's a lie. He's not a sweet boy. He's very unkind to guests, but he's very sweet to his family. We love him, and he is allowed to do whatever he wants right now because he's still healing up. Go on. All right. If things look different, it's because they are. I am recording the second half of this video way later in the day. I know it probably seems like all of my videos are recorded in 2 parts. That's because they are. I have a toddler. I try to record during her nap, and she doesn't always nap long enough for me to actually get through like my very long-winded rambling videos. So they're in 2 parts. It's fine. I'm doing my best. Next on my list is The Shepherd King, and this is the One Dark Window duology. In my notes, I have absolutely not. I'm not even going to explain this one. So, next one on my list is The Sleepless duology. I think it's a duology by Jennifer Williams. And I have in my notes, no thank you. I didn't hate this book, but I also didn't love it. I just didn't really care about it. I would actually say if you read One Dark Window and you liked kind of the concept, but you didn't like the writing, I would say to check out The Sleepless because it has a couple of similar plot points, but it's better written. Now, that said, I still think it's like a 2-star book. I just didn't care for it. It is much better written than One Dark Window, but that's not really saying much. It's kind of like the bar is in hell, you know what I mean? So I do think it's better, and if you're looking for something kind of similar, you might find it there. But I personally will not be continuing that duology because I didn't like it. The Southern Reach series by Jeff Vandermeer, I will be continuing this. It will probably just take kind of a long time. I did read the first one and I really enjoyed it. but it's very strange. It's so weird. And it really has that dreamlike or maybe even like fever dream quality to it. So I have to be in the right mood for that. It is a little bit creepy. It's not scary in your traditional horror sense. And it's not scary in a traditional sci fi sense. I don't really know how to describe what kind of scary it is, but I did find certain parts to be pretty scary. But overall, really enjoyed it. I like the concept and I'm interested to see where the story is going. So I probably will continue that series. I will definitely at least get to the second one, which I believe I purchased at some point, and it is on a shelf somewhere in this house. The Sworn Soldier series by T. Kingfisher. Absolutely. I will absolutely continue this series. I will follow Easton wherever they go. These are a fun, quick, little gothic spook fest that I really enjoy. I really like how they're written. I love Easton's character. The supporting characters are also really nice. And the settings are like really spooky and creepy and atmospheric. And the creepy things that happen are very creepy. T. Kingfisher has this knack of writing like one really weird, creepy, gross scene in the books and then kind of moving on. And I like that because it's like just enough to get me a little bit spooked, but then we get to have fun for the rest of the story. So I will definitely continue The Sworn Soldier. Live Ship Traders by Robin Hobb. 100% will continue this series. In fact, I would like to get to the second one soon. I started the second one and then I'm not sure what was happening with me at the time, but for some reason I set it down and never picked it back up. It wasn't because of the book, it was because of my life. Like something was going on in my personal life that I just didn't have the time or the energy to read. My daughter was a newborn when I read the Farseer trilogy, so I'm pretty sure she was still very young when I was trying to read Live Ship Traders, and that might be why it got put down. But I intend to pick it back up, and I do want to read the entire Realm of the Elderlings. I love the way Robin Hobb writes. She really writes these long and winding, beautiful stories that I just don't think I've experienced with another author. So I'm invested, excited. I will continue that series for sure. Next is Berserk. I will continue Berserk. I have the first 3 volumes and I have read the first and then half of the second. Hilariously, my battery died. So we're back and we're really going to try to finish this. So I believe I was talking about Berserk. Berserk is a manga. It has, I think, 14 volumes currently, and they are like fat volumes. So it is quite a bit. I started the second one, but honestly, it was getting like really, really intense and kind of like traumatizing to read. So I paused, but I do want to continue because I do think that the story is very, very interesting and engaging. I cannot, in good conscience, recommend Berserk to anybody because if there's a trigger warning for something, it can be applied to Berserk. Berserk is very intense, very traumatic, very violent, very graphic. I would not actually recommend it to anyone, but I am reading it and I am enjoying it. It's just a lot. Like I said, if there's something terrible that you can think of that could possibly happen to another living creature, it probably happens in Berserk. So if you decide to pick that up, just be warned, okay? I gave you a warning. I did my due diligence and told you that I'm not actually recommending this series to you, but that I am reading it and I do intend to continue it. We have the Stormlight Archive by Brandon Sanderson. I only have one book left, Wind and Truth, and I do plan to read it. I actually want to read it this year. That way I can just be wrapped up and say that I read the Stormlight Archive. I'm done with it. I completed it. I like it a lot. I really, really like the first, second, and third books. The fourth one was kind of a letdown for me. It wasn't a letdown. I still really enjoyed it. It felt like the editor maybe wasn't quite as attentive as they should have been. I felt like there were definitely sections that needed a heavier hand in editing. I've heard kind of a lot of bad things about Wind and Truth, and if I'm being transparent, that's really kind of the motivating reason of why I haven't finished the series yet. So I can't put it off forever though. I do want to finish it. I do love these characters. There are characters in the Stormlight Archive who are some of my favorite literary characters. I would die for Dalinar. He is such a great character. He's so great to read. I love him. I love seeing everything that he does. So I do want to finish that series, but I am hesitant because I'm afraid to be disappointed. I have The Witches of Halstead by Catherine J. Abrams. The first book is Tonight I Burn. I will not be continuing this. I did not like this book. It's up there with One Dark Window in just books that I despise. I really detest Tonight I Burn. I thought that it was gonna be like a fun, spooky, witchy romp adventure, but what it actually ended up being was like a very childish drama of how one Mary Sue became the hinge in a thruple. And that's just not something I'm really interested in reading. Honestly, I could not explain the plot to you right after I finished reading it. So I'm not going to continue this series. I did not enjoy it. It was not a good time. The next one, you guys are going to judge me for this, and that's fine, but it's Blood of a Fae by Briar Bolin. The first book is called Queen of Roses. This series is a romantasy, gender bend reimagining of Arthurian legend. It is so over the top. It's so goofy. It's so silly. I feel like it is the best kind of romantasy because it just keeps escalating to be more and more ridiculous. And I feel like it knows it's kind of ridiculous and it's not taking itself too seriously. So I'm able to really enjoy it for what it is. It's a 4-book series and I have read 1 through 3, so there's only 1 book left and I will continue it because it's just a fun time. It's a really good palate cleanser. It's just a silly, ridiculous romantasy romp. It does have graphic adult interactions in it. So if you look this up, be warned that it is meant for grown-ups. Next on my list is the Broken Empire series by Mark Lawrence, and this is an absolutely no. I will not be continuing this series. I read Prince of Thorns and hated it. It's so edgy that it jumps over into the deep end and turns into cringe. And it is just cringe all the way through. I actually can't believe that the same person who wrote Red Sister wrote this book because it is so bizarre and not enjoyable. Not just in content, because the content is very like edgelord, over the top, kind of like gross and cringy, but also the writing. The writing felt so disjointed. It felt like I was walking into a room full of people who were already 30 minutes into a conversation and nobody told me what we were talking about. That is how I felt throughout the entire book. Did not enjoy it, will not continue. Next is Mistborn Era 2 by Brandon Sanderson. I will finish this. I'm noticing a bit of a trend. I have 1 book left. I don't know what's wrong with me. I do this all the time, especially with like TV shows or video games where I have like 6% left and I just never finish it. So on these series where I have 1 book left, I really want to get to them. I do really, really want to finish Mistborn Era 2, but I am very attached to these characters. They're so fun. It's just such a fun time. I actually like Era 2 more than Era 1. I think that Era 1 is definitely more of like a young adult series, and Era 2 feels like kind of a dad series. Like it has a lot of dad humor. It's really goofy and silly and kind of over the top, but there is a nice serious plot throughout the entire thing. I will finish it. It might just take me a minute. Next on my list is the Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy, I think is her name. It's a no. It's a no from me, dog. I'm not interested. I read the first book, Guild, I think is what it's called, and absolutely hated it. It's not the worst writing that I've ever read, but it is one of the worst stories I've ever read. I hate the main character. She is entirely a Mary Sue with no agency. She does not do anything. The plot happens to her. And that is like one of the worst kinds of characters. It's so boring to read. I had just enough interest in what was happening that I would have continued this series if not for one point that I'd like to discuss very briefly with you. In this book, it is kind of implied, it's said without being said, that the worst thing that could happen to a woman is that she be raped. Which I understand that for some people that is their perspective. That is, it's definitely one of the worst things that could happen to someone. But this book makes it seem like the absolute worst thing, worse fate than death, is to be raped. Then the book puts the main character in multiple situations. I think it happens 3 times, and this is not a long book, where she is on the verge of being raped or having sex against her will and rescued at the last moment. So she gets to maintain her purity, but other characters are raped. And it definitely reads, I wish I had the copy that I read because I think I made a note somewhere in it for like the specific scene. It's kind of implied that the main character maintains more value as a woman because she hasn't been raped when these other characters who are her friends have been raped, and she internally sees herself as better than them. That disgusted me. Did not enjoy that at all. And I may be misinterpreting the text, but that is the feeling that I got. That's how I interpreted the things that the main character said or thought and the events that were happening. It was enough to turn me off of the books entirely. I won't be reading them. I know that they're very popular and the people who like them really like them, but I just couldn't get past that. So I will not be continuing that series. Next up is A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. I have read the first 4 books in this series and I've hit my limit. I just don't want to read it anymore. The writing is fine, I guess. It's hard to say that it's good because it's not good, but then we have published works like Tonight I Burn that are really actually terrible writing. It's better than that, but it's not good. And the characters aren't that interesting. They're all the same. When I read this last one, it felt like it was 70% sex and then like 15% sexual tension. The plot didn't even make that much sense. I had a kind of a hard time following it because I didn't know what was happening. It really delved into the performative art of like strong female character. Yes, queen slay, girl boss. I did not enjoy that. I just didn't take anything away from it. I didn't enjoy it. I couldn't even tell you about it, except that I got tired of hearing about this girl giving blowies to the guy that is like in love with her and she hates him. It's so weird. I'm just not interested in reading any of that. I saw a YouTube video, or it may have been a blog. I can't remember which it was, but it was talking about Sarah J. Maas and specifically A Court of Thorns and Roses. And it was discussing how some of the things described in this series, it could be interpreted as racism towards Irish people or Ireland as a country. I am a quarter Irish. So when I was listening to somebody talk about these things, I was a little bit upset, a little bit bothered. I don't know if that is how Maas intended it. Having somebody point it out was very eye-opening for me. I don't like to get political, and I don't think that reading has to be political, but it's a personal choice for me. Next up here, I have the Harbinger series by Jeff Wheeler. I believe the first book is called Stormglass. These are a young adult fantasy that I read forever ago, and I think I read the first 2 or 3 and really enjoyed them. At this point, if I wanted to finish it, I would have to go back and reread the first ones, and I'm just not sure if I want to commit to that much. It would basically be like restarting a series. But I think I could be convinced. So if you've read the Harbinger series and you think it's really worth finishing, then let me know. Because I think if you make a good argument for it, I could be convinced. But right now, it's going to be a soft no, just because I don't want to have to go back, read 3 books, and then actually pick up where I left off. The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is a probably not gonna finish. I recently finished the first book. I did find the story interesting. I found it engaging, and I am curious about where it's going, but I truly hated the main character and some of the supporting characters. I didn't like some of the themes, and I need to do a little bit more research on this. I'm not Chinese, so I don't want to like talk out of my ass because like I don't have a personal perspective here. I read what some other people were saying, other people who are Chinese, and they took some issues with like Sun Tzu is referenced in the book and the art of war is referenced in the book, but it is like misquoted or the quotes are made up, and Sun Tzu was a real person in this book, but not the person that we know of in our history. Maybe the book is kind of miscategorized as fantasy and it should be like historical fiction or historical fantasy. I'm not sure. Regardless of all of that, I didn't like the main character. I didn't like the choices that she made. And there were some themes of like abuse, and the main character seems to only really be attracted to the people who abuse her, and she kind of rejects the people who are kind to her. And I felt like that was really gross. And the book kind of like forgives the abuse without ever actually addressing it. And I didn't like that either. So I just don't think that I'm going to continue this series. Also, chapter 21. I will talk about this in my review. Chapter 21 was very upsetting for me. And if you are going to read The Poppy War, I would warn you that chapter 21 is going to be very upsetting, very graphic, and there is no warning in the book anywhere. There's no warning on the audiobook. There's no warning on my copy, like my physical copy of this book. And I checked online and it looks like none of the physical copies have any sort of trigger warning for the things in chapter 21, which I found kind of surprising. If you're curious about the triggers, I would say go to Storygraph and check the triggers that are user submitted. And the first probably 10 or 15 are the ones that I am referencing. But all of that just to say, I probably won't continue the Poppy War. It's sort of a soft no. It's one of the ones that I think that I could be convinced on, but you would have to make a really good argument for it. On here, I have the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, and I won't be continuing this series. I started it forever ago, and I just was so bored with the first book. The 5th season, I believe, is the name of the book. I found that I was just very bored. I couldn't really get into the head of any of the characters. I didn't feel anything for them. I didn't think that they were interesting or compelling. And then I went online because I was like, is it me? Am I missing something? And I accidentally spoiled the little twist at the end for myself. And once I read that little twist, I was like kind of annoyed, and I would have been even more annoyed had I finished the book and then gotten to that. So I just stopped there, and I actually DNF'd the fifth season, and I will not continue the series. I know that everybody loves it. It's award winning. It's extremely popular. It's not for me. The writing is not bad though. It is well written. The quality is there. I just didn't vibe with the story. Last but certainly not least, A Song of Ice and Fire by George R. R. Martin. Listen, I have read the first, I think, three books, and they're fine. I kind of have a hard time getting into Martin's writing. It feels kind of dry, and I feel like he's just kind of like droning on, kind of like what I'm doing right now. Here's the caveat. It is a soft no, but I put in my notes that if George R. R. Martin finishes A Song of Ice and Fire, then I will too. That was all of the series that I could find that were kind of lingering on the outskirts of my TBR. If you stuck around for all of this, I really appreciate it. You are a real one, because that's a lot. That's a lot to talk about. It's a lot to listen to. I think I've committed to completing half of those, so that's pretty good. It's definitely a weight off my shoulders to not be thinking about a whole bunch of series that I'm not really that interested in anymore. There are some that I'm really on the fence about, some that I called like a soft no or soft DNF. I am pretty gullible, and I think I can be convinced if you really think that some of these are worth reading. So hit me up, let me know. Are there any series that you guys just did not vibe with? Are there any that you've been putting off? Maybe we should finish these series together. Thanks for hanging out.